Welcome to the Creating Confident Content podcast. Hey everyone, let's get real. Content is not going away, and creating content for social media is more important than ever, and there are a lot of moving parts. So I created this podcast to not only share tactical tips, but also the mindset work that needs to get done to create successful content online and offline so that you can grow your business faster and help others. So let's get started. Hi everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of Creating Confident Content podcast. And I am super excited that you joined me today, and I'm very grateful. So thank you in advance. My husband Ryan, who's Good Karma Sport Fishing, and I were just talking about something in relation to content, and that is content overload. And I dare say, and he agrees, that there's a lot of content out there right now. And we would guess that a lot of people are on overload. Oh my goodness. Overload, overload, overload. And when I started to think about this podcast and that I was going to circle back to tip number 1, that is the lead magnet freebie. We all know what they are, right? On my website, which is Ready to Grow Your Business Fast. Here's 5 easy tips. I was going to circle back to tip 1 because I haven't talked about tip 1 yet. And tip 1 is let's get started creating. So that's tip 1. And the premise of the tip, because I talk about some other things on the PDF, and definitely go to my website, melindavanfleet.com or beyondbasicscoaching.com and click at the top and you'll get the PDF. But the premise of tip 1 is about being boring. And it goes into the same bucket that there's a lot of content out there. So you really have to be careful to not be boring, or everyone's taking a nap, because then they're going to turn you off, or they're not going to read, or they're not going to watch anymore, or they're going to unsubscribe, or they're going to unfollow, all the things, right? Because our time is limited, so limited. And let's be real, a lot of people suck at time management. So then it's even worse because they can't manage their day, and then they try to fit in content creation or consuming the right things to get to a level of building their business, and they can't seem to figure that out either. But we all know a lot of those people are scrolling endlessly or watching Netflix or doing something else with their time that they probably, if they sat and really thought about it, could do a better job of editing their day. However, that's not what's happening out there. So you have to figure out ways to not be boring. What does that mean? That means you have to step out of your comfort zone. So some things that maybe in the past you've been afraid to talk about because you're afraid of judgment, and then you live in that fear, and then you judge your own content, which creates like a whole circle, right? And if you follow that circle instead of getting out of your own way, your content's going to be boring. And I hate to say it, but I was on Slack yesterday. And if you don't know what Slack is, it's an app on your phone. Let's say you can probably have it on your computer too, but it's on my phone. And I'm in a group for medium.com. And if you've been following me, you know that I got back on Medium, just like one article in September, but then really October 12th is when I started posting an article almost daily. I'm aiming for 5 to 6 days a week. If I can get to 7, that's fantastic. I don't think 7's truly always necessary, but I have to give myself a little grace here and there. And I created a publication on Medium called Beyond Basic. So it's going all in line and in conjunction with the fact of let's talk about things that are beyond basic. They're not boring. It's not just the boring things about how to breathe better, that you should meditate, how to do tapping, all these things we've all heard a million times before. You may or may not be doing them and actually taking advantage of these tools, but you've heard it before, right? So anyhow, so I was on Slack and a fellow writer was sharing her stories, and that's what you do on the Slack channel is you share your stories and you get engagement and build relationships. And her stories were fine, but oh my gosh, they were so basic. They were just the basic things like that you can read anywhere. Anywhere. I like to use Success Magazine as an example. They're just the basic articles that you can get anywhere. And there's nothing wrong with them. There's nothing wrong with them. And you may be at that stage of learning something, so that may be perfect for you, right? But unfortunately, there's so much of that information out there. So this writer, she's just not going to stand out if she doesn't look to like evolve it a little bit. And that's her journey. I don't know her. So I would never want to, say that in a Slack channel, but she'll learn, she'll figure it out. And just like we all are trying to do, right? We're all trying to just continue to evolve and grow and share and teach. And that's what this podcast is about sharing some things I see out there, my experiences and journeys, and then other people's as well. So it's just something I saw, and right away it was like, ding, ding, ding. Oh my goodness, I hope that she starts to read some of the other writers that are even ahead of me. There are many writers on Medium that have huge followings that are fantastic to read their articles because they have some really great tips and they are very transparent. They'll tell you, they'll write an article. They'll be like, last week sucked. My views were down. Here's why I think why, right? And that's what's happening. You pull up your podcast numbers and you're like, oh my gosh, what happened last week? The other weeks were fantastic. Did everyone take a nap last week? So these are the things that if you're into content creation, you also have to be looking at your numbers and you try to figure it out. Like I don't drive myself crazy trying to figure out my numbers, but I do look at them and try to be like, okay, is this a trend or just like a weird thing? Ryan had a good question. He said, did you release your podcast on a different day? And I'm like, no, it's always Wednesday mornings and I normally record on Mondays. And, you just try to figure it out. But at the end of the day, it could be just that it's boring. Last week's podcast wasn't so great. Maybe y'all didn't like the title. Hey, I don't know. You live, you learn, you figure it out, you try again. Even with email blasts, I'll look and see like an open rate. One week's better than the other. Is it the title? Or were many more people sending emails? Was it a really busy week? Was it a full moon? Was it a new moon? Like, I don't freaking know all the time, right? But the biggest thing is to just try to get out of your fear and self-judgment because you're afraid others are going to be judging you. So you can create some content that's interesting, that's exciting, a reason for people to listen, a reason for people to read, a reason for people to open your email blast. And, just to have fun and learn something new that is beyond basic. So I hope you like this podcast today. Please share. I would love to hear from you. If you go to my website, I also have a Beyond Basic foundational course that's really step one in growing your business. And oftentimes we hear from the old paradigm of marketing coaches, you need to sell what people want. Well, you know what? I do truly believe and know that people want to improve. They want to improve their mindset. They want to move past judgment, comparison, fear. And this course, which is only $222 and it's an evergreen course, is a course that will start you on this path. I created it with all of my heart and soul, and I believe in it. I use it. I share things in there that you will not hear other places. Again, Beyond Basic. And it's a great way to start the process. Or even if you're already entrenched in your business and you're like, you know what, I just need some extra tips. Things have gotten a little stale. I feel a little stuck. I'm looking to learn something new. This is just a really great, at your own pace, self-led course by watching the videos and printing out the worksheets to get there. Learn a new tip or tool and evolve and grow. Because if you're not learning and you're not evolving and growing, well, you know what? I don't know what to tell you there. So check that out. Also, again, medium.com, my new publication, Beyond Basic, This is also a call to writers. If you're a writer and you would like to write for the publication, you can send me an email, melinda@melindavanfleet.com, or just go on the site and submit through medium.com. And then my private Facebook group is called Beyond Basic. And I will put the link to the private Facebook group in the show notes. And I would love to see you there. So connect with me further if you're interested in private one-on-one coaching. Until next time, I hope this podcast helped you confidently create some new content. Thanks for listening.